Tomorrow, during Prime Minister's questions, there'll be an opportunity to see once again the dismal reality of Kemi Badenoch as the leader, I use the term loosely, of the Conservative Party. The person who sees Liz Truss, perhaps, as her model, as her role model, who is trying to eke out her life in the vegetable patch that has become the Conservative Party, emulating a lettuce by pretending to be some sort of cabbage, just lasting a little longer before she goes to rack and ruin on the shelf. What does Badenoch need to learn, and why, in all likelihood, will her actions tomorrow demonstrate that once again she has no ability to grasp the fundamental lessons? So, beginning by considering the nature of her political approach, Badenoch, like many of her predecessors, her immediate predecessors, appears to be wedded to a set of traditional mantras that were the hallmark of a government in its waning days, a government that failed. And these ideas, which once may have been seen as innovative or at least serviceable, have become tired cliches in a political landscape that's evolved at warp speed. And it's clear that the Conservative Party is increasingly uncomfortable with a leader who seems more concerned with reiterating past policies and trying to prove that she was right in the past, without innovating for the future. And to a certain extent, the Labour Party has been caught up in this as well. One of the most glaring areas where Badenoch needs to demonstrate growth is in the realm of policy nuance. Her speeches, notably the keynote speech on foreign policy, have been criticised as being long on philosophical platitude and short on actionable policy. For instance, while she talked about raising defence spending and cutting international aid, which is exactly what Keir Starmer has now done, she is not committed to concrete targets. This vagueness does little to inspire confidence in an electorate that demands clarity and precision. And the current political climate, both domestically and internationally, requires leaders who not only understand the underlying economic and strategic reality, but can also articulate them in a manner that resonates with voters. And to put this into context, the situation in Germany, where Friedrich Merz's CDU, despite its historic strength in the West, has underperformed on the national stage, the CDU's weak performance, especially when contrasted with the ascendance of parties like the AfD in regions that were once strongholds, serves as a cautionary tale, doesn't it? Much like Merz's party, the Conservatives under Badenoch are facing a similar predicament, a failure to adapt to the shifting allegiances of the electorate. In the German example, the traditional centre-right has been left vulnerable to more radical alternatives. In the UK, the threat comes not from the opposition, but from a fragmented right, with Nigel Farage's Reform UK carving out a niche that could conceivably ultimately prove fatal to the Tories. And Badenoch's inability, her stubbornness, her unwillingness to learn from these comparative examples is a weakness that could really have very real electoral consequences and doesn't need to have. In the hands of somebody with a brain, this would not be a problem. But Kemi Badenoch, there seems to be no process of reflection in Kemi Badenoch's approach. It's all about rhetoric and about what she can say and about what she's and about the script that she's following. You know, who is puppeteering her? Who is actually giving her the words? And Badenoch's approach to international relations again leaves much to be desired. In the speech at the Policy Exchange, she posited that the United Nations should consider leaving the European Convention on Human Rights. Old news. If it continues to impede the country's national interests. This kind of rhetoric, while attention-grabbing, is full of risk. The ECHR has long served as a cornerstone of British human rights law, and any suggestion of abandoning it not only alienates a significant segment of the public, but also undermines the long-established norms that have safeguarded civil liberties in this country. A leader of her stature should be well versed in the delicate balance between asserting national sovereignty and upholding international obligations. Yet by flirting with such drastic measures without a coherent, pragmatic roadmap, Badenoch reveals a concerning lack of strategic depth. And what she clearly needs to learn is the art of real government, because she didn't learn it when she was in a governmental cabinet in number 10, and she certainly hasn't learned it when she's been given the reins of power as leader of the opposition. The realm of politics is not merely a battle of slogans and sound bites. It's about the meticulous craft of policy making, the foresight to anticipate future challenges, the humility to admit when the world doesn't stand still, and her reliance on an engineer's brain. A penchant for logical step-by-step problem-solving must be complemented by a willingness to engage with the messy realities of human behaviour, media dynamics, and people who answer in a different way to the way that she expects. When political fortunes are decided not by abstract theories but by tangible outcomes, this inability to think on her feet becomes glaringly obvious and makes her a very poor leader. In addition, her handling of the media and public discourse merits closer scrutiny and closer condemnation. In today's political environment, where misinformation spreads like wildfire and accountability is increasingly elusive, leaders must be adept at navigating the turbulent waters of public opinion. Unfortunately, her inability, her recent forays into leveraging unverified lines of argument, echoing rhetorical rubbish on platforms like Twitter, only serve to further erode the trust that should be placed in her. Instead of defending objective truth, she appears content to propagate partisan talking points that do little to address the underlying issues that the nation faces. This approach not only undermines the integrity of political debate, but also sets a dangerous precedent, one where public discourse is reduced to a cycle of rumour and counter-rumour. And she's supposed to be the leader of the opposition. She doesn't attend the appropriate meetings, as Keir Starmer opines, and she doesn't seem to be able to embrace a clear direction, or indeed to score points, or indeed to hold the government to account. So what is her purpose? Because she doesn't seem to have any. Or she does have a purpose, and she doesn't seem to fulfill it. And the consequence of all this misjudgment is particularly acute at a time when political allegiances are in flux and traditional voting patterns are rapidly being redrawn, and the Conservative Party's historical advantage has long depended on a delicate equilibrium balancing the moderate centrist elements of its base with its more hardline segments on the right. However, if Badenoch continues down this path of recycled rhetoric without real innovation, it's likely that she, and by extension her party, will see further erosion of their support. She will personally destroy the Conservative Party, and voters disillusioned by hollow promises and an apparent inability to learn from past missteps and an inability to structure a coherent path forward will quickly shift their allegiances to alternatives that appear more responsive to contemporary realities, that certainly appear to be more vocal and more resonant, if not actually more prepared. And by the way, I don't think Reform UK is prepared for any sort of realistic power in government. So looking ahead, tomorrow will be another opportunity, another proving ground, with opinion polls showing discontent, emergent challenges from both within and outside the traditional Tory fold. Any demonstration by Badenoch of further intellectual or strategic inertia, which is what I expect tomorrow morning or tomorrow lunchtime at Prime Minister's questions, will confirm what many already suspect, that she has learnt nothing from the past, that she is as stubborn and as absurd as ever, that she is clinging to a script written by somebody else and unlikely to do anything positive in the near future. In an age when the speed of political change is accelerating, a leader who clings to outdated paradigms, who doesn't seem capable of change, is doomed to be left behind. Badenoch's predicament is emblematic of a broader challenge facing the Conservative Party, but I think also facing Parliament. A challenge that's not so much about adapting to rapidly changing political landscapes as it is about the ability to conduct its own self-reflection. And Badenoch seems incapable of self-reflection. There doesn't seem to be an internal dialogue. What she needs to learn is too enormous. The importance of concrete policy innovation over abstract rhetoric, the necessity of engaging with the complex realities of modern government, the art of balancing traditional values with the imperatives of contemporary politics. Without these lessons, the ability to structure a sentence in a coherent way, the capacity to be able to respond to what somebody else has said, every performance that she delivers is second rate. And that reinforces the view that despite her best efforts, Badenoch is a relic of a bygone era, is a poor choice for the Conservative Party. She is ill-equipped to lead the Conservatives into the future, except to lead them into electoral oblivion. And if that's what she wishes to do, then she should cling to power. If she has any loyalty to the Conservative ideal, then she should resign within the next week.